Hey, got some funny sound from President Obama at a recent town hall meeting. Actually, I think it was yesterday in Minneapolis. Had a lot of negative things to say about Republicans, accusing them of not caring about the poor folks and the elderly and the people with disabilities. And they want to cut this and they want to cut that, which, of course, they don't want to do. But I thought it was funny when the president talked about how he doesn't watch television, doesn't watch cable, doesn't watch regular TV. Here, have a listen. Cut number 25.
I don't watch TV news generally, or cable shows. But I suspect if you're out here and going to work and picking up your kids and taking them to soccer, or at night sitting there paying the bills, and you just turn on the TV, sometimes it must feel kind of discouraging because it doesn't feel like what's being talked about in Washington has anything to do with what's going on in your lives day to day.
So, first of all, he said he doesn't watch TV news. Now, I seem to recall, and I've played this sound before, every time there was a major crisis, like it was, the IRS scandal, Fast and Furious, I forget, there were a number of scandals. The president's reaction was always the same. I learned about it just like you did, from watching the evening news. Well, how can he learn about all these scandals on the news if he doesn't watch the news? I mean, which is it? Did he learn about the scandals watching the news, or does he not watch the news? See, I mean, I don't know here. I mean, because he's lying. You can't be telling the truth on both. Either he watches the news or he doesn't. Now, I actually think he's lying twice. I think he does watch the news, but I don't think he found out about his scandals by watching the news. I think he knew about the scandals anyway, and he just pretended he found out by watching the news. So I think he's actually lying twice, but he has to be lying at least once. He can't be telling the truth on both occasions. And, of course, if he were telling the truth about the fact that he learns about all these scandals on the news, which means, of course, he's lying when he says he doesn't watch the news. But if it is true that he's being honest about his learning about scandals by watching the news, isn't that a problem in and of itself? Because don't you think the president should learn about things before they're on the ABC or NBC evening news? After all, he is the president. Why should he have to wait to get his news just like, John Q. Citizen does? You'd think he would be more on top of stuff. That'd be like a guy that's running a corporation, saying that, he doesn't get any he doesn't get any news about his company until he sees it on the news. Wouldn't he know about it first? Because, he's running the company. He's got to wait till he gets a news story about what's going on in his own company. So I think either way, the president is incompetent. He's lying. But then he also says that he doesn't watch cable shows. Now, I don't know. Does he mean cable news shows, or does he mean he doesn't watch any cable shows? Because, if he says he doesn't watch any cable shows, well, he's lying there too. Because this is what he said earlier in the same talk. Here, cut number 26.
This is why sometimes when I watch Mad Men, and, there's Peggy and Joan, the two women there, I'm always rooting for them because I imagine them. That's what it was like for my grandmother, kind of working her way up.
So he watches Mad Men. Isn't that a cable show? Right? Isn't that AMC? I think you have to have cable to get that. So I don't know. Was he talking about cable news shows he doesn't watch, or just cable shows? Because he clearly watches Mad Men. And I think there's other. I think he's talking about other shows that he watches on cable. Right? The Netflix show he watches. What's it called? House of Cards. He's talked about that one. But no, so he just votes for the women, right? That's those are his favorite characters in all these shows. But he watches something. Maybe what is he? They've got a full-time projectionist that works at the White House, a projectionist. In fact, remember, it's 24 hours in case the president wakes up at 2 a.m. and decides he wants to watch something. He's got a projectionist there ready to To do what? Because, back in the olden days when you actually had a projector that like had film and stuff, it was kind of complicated to watch a movie when you had all these big reels that you had to work. But, I mean, who the hell needs a projectionist today? You just push a button and whatever you want to watch is projected automatically. There's no film. I mean, what is it? The president can't push the play button on his Blu-ray player? He needs to pay a guy $100,000 a year. And if he doesn't even watch television, then what do we need this projectionist for? Unless he didn't mean movies. He doesn't watch TV because he's too busy watching movies. But even though he's watching them, he doesn't know how to turn the Blu-ray on and off, right? He needs to pay a guy $100,000 a year and make sure he have the guys, on call. We have, 3 shifts? The projectionist, he works after his 8 hours. He's relieved by the next projectionist. I wonder how busy they are. I mean, how often do they have to push the play button because the president can't do it himself? And, of course, they say there's no room to make any cuts. Why don't they cut the projectionist? Right? Because either the president doesn't need him because he's not watching, or he could figure it out himself. Or why can't he why can't Michelle handle that, or maybe one of his daughters? Can't somebody handle pushing the play button, pushing the pause button? We got to pay someone to do that? I mean, how many people in their own lives can manage to watch TV and watch movies without having a projectionist on the payroll? Because most of us can handle this. That's the same thing with his dog walker. He's got a dog, and the taxpayers have to pay $100,000 a year to the dog handler. There ought to be a rule in the White House. If you want a dog, so you have good photo ops, so you can have pictures of yourself and your family with your dog. If you want a dog, then you better walk it yourself. You better take care of it. You better feed it. And if you have 2 young daughters, give them a chore. Let them walk the dog. Let them feed the dog. Don't put the taxpayer on the hook for a $100,000 a year dog handler, and every time you take a vacation, we got to pay to fly that dog handler on your vacation because you're too lazy and your daughters are too lazy to take care of their own dog. I mean, maybe they don't even like the dog, right? Anybody ever think of that? Maybe everybody hates that dog. It's just there for show. It's just there for photo ops, right? No one cares about it. They just pawn it off on some dog handler, and they just bring it out every once in a while so that the president can take a photograph and look like he cares about dogs. Because that's all it is. It's all one big show up there in Washington, D.C.